Hi, and welcome back to the Switch Show. So, we've been running a series on seasons, and we've tackled spring, summer, autumn, and we've come to my favorite season, winter. So, winter, winter. Just before we get into this, if you haven't already, there are about three parts in this series that have been uploaded already. So, you can do well to listen to them. You can catch up. You really need to catch up. You can catch up, and also leave us a rating on Spotify. Follow, subscribe wherever you can. Just help us grow as we want to grow. Okay, so yeah, thank you in advance. So yeah, we're talking about winter. Winter, the most beautiful season. To me it is. To you guys it might not be, but winter is my favorite season. I've said this like in the previous episodes already. So winter is the coldest season of the year, between autumn and spring. The concept of winter in European languages is associated with the season of dormancy, particularly in relation to crops. Some plants die, leaving their seeds, and others merely cease growth until spring. Now, the reason I had to read this is because I want to highlight some things in those sentences. So the first one is, it's a season of dormancy. The second is, some plants die, leaving their seeds. That's the phrase. Then the last one is, others merely cease growth until spring. So let's start with the first one. Dormancy. Dormancy is a period of inactivity. Simply put, dormancy is a period of inactivity, a time where there is a cessation or a suspension of activeness, of alertness, of what's the word? Yeah, it's a period where there's a suspension of activities, basically. So what this implies is that in our lives, because I'm trying to find correlations between these seasons of our lives, if you don't already know. So I'm not just talking about the season, but finding correlations between these seasons and our lives. So in our lives, there are periods where we have to retract. We have to retract from the social eye, or from the sphere of influence and all this other stuff. And I'm particularly using now the analogy from musicians. We see our favorite singers take a hiatus. They drop an album, drop a couple more singles, go on tours, see the world from different lenses, probably even do a remix or two from a couple of their hit songs, and then they go into the shadows for like a year or two. You probably hear nothing about them. There's lessened social activity, there's lessened social media presence. Then they come back after a year or two with a very cryptic post, and it leaves all their fans on their toes, at the edge of their seats. Everybody's very expectant, because that period, we can coin that period a season of dormancy. When they are inactive. This happens because I read somewhere, I was reading something about the power of the incubation period. So scientists says that the incubation period works because your brain gets a break from everything distracting you. So that period, you take a break from social media. Is very distracting, and that's what many people don't know. We call ourselves, some people have coined social media addiction as one of the addictions out there, in relation to some sexual ones, the abuse of drugs, and several other things. Social media is very addictive, and it becomes distracting. We should understand that addictions are distracting. They are a temporary distraction from reality. Let me put it that way. Addictions are a temporary distraction from reality. So the more you get addicted to something, the more you lose touch with your humanity, with reality, the more you lose touch with your present world. And losing touch with your present world dampens your ability to make any significant change. So that period of, you need to understand that it's a cycle. Seasons are a cycle. It's a cyclical activity. So you need to understand these cycles. If you do not understand this cycle, when it's the time for you to take a break, you won't know when to take a break. You won't know when to retreat and surrender. You won't know when to leave the social sphere, take some time and recharge. So the second one, I said some plants die leaving their seeds behind. Now when it comes to death, it is a known fact across the board that everybody is gonna die someday. But I would say that I'm taking death two ways. There'll be a contextual definition to what I mean by death. Although this place is talking about cessation of life. So that's the first one, the cessation of life. So when it says some plants die leaving their seeds behind, so when a person dies, your seeds is your legacy. Let's put it that way. Your seeds are your legacy. Your seeds are your impact. The lives that you've been able to influence positively, the lives that you've been able to, the lives you've been able to draw or bring up, people that have been able to harness and hone their potentials, those are your seeds. So if you are dying and you're not leaving any seeds behind, ask yourself, what was the essence of being planted in the first place? Just take a moment and just marinate in that question. You can answer it for yourself. I don't have an answer to that. It's a subjective answer. So the second definition is, when I talk, I would like to put it as retirement. Along the line you retire. It's just normal. You can't keep up with the activity of the social sphere. You can't, because the world is constantly evolving and even moving faster than we can think. So there comes a time where your biological design is no longer keeping up with you. It's like, bro, if you keep at this, I'm going to leave you behind. So you need to understand that there'll be a point where you have to calm down, take a break. Some people call it the evening of a person's life. You can call it the winter of a person's life. You have to take a step back. Now those seeds, like I said, your legacy, your influence, hallmarks, accolades, pointers, there are many words for this. Influence, indelible marks, something of a tattoo that you've left, an imprint, an impression you've left on people, your first and your last impression. They say your last impression matters as much as your first impression. So understanding when you are in your winter season of life, not just in a period of time, not just like in a year or in a couple of months. You need to understand that these seasons don't only affect a couple of months, even though they do. When I talk about these seasons from the beginning, I mostly talk about there are times in your life, in your present day reality, in a couple of months, you say, okay, I need 3 months, a 3 months break to process. But you need to understand that these months actually span across our lives. There are different stages of our lives that are associated with these months. Winter is the latter stage of your life, where everything ceases, where activities just come to an end. So if you're not leaving an impact, an imprint, an impression on someone, you didn't have a good first impression, you didn't have a good last impression. I don't know. I really don't know, because I was listening to a podcast. I think it's called the Depth Podcast. So this woman, Dr. Alicia Bricholi, was talking about her book, she was talking about her book Anonymous, and she brought up a point where she had to study trees to write about that book. And she said when she moved to her apartment, to a new house she got, not an apartment, a house, she saw this tree. The tree was beautiful, was lush, but this tree was old and it was bearing a lot of leaves. And the mistake she made was to not prune the leaves of this old tree. And these leaves eventually weighed the tree down, that when winter came, it blew off, knocked off a lot of its branches and everything, and it left the tree bare and dead. That analogy, I would like to drive it here, that when you're in your winter season, you are not to be harnessing potential that you should have turned to kinetic and given off to the newer generations. You're meant to hone these potentials at a very early stage. That's where your spring and your summer comes in. You're meant to hone them. They mature somewhat between spring and autumn, between summer and autumn, and you give them off. You give them off in your winter. You don't carry dispositions. You don't carry baggage when you're already old. You need to give it off to a younger generation to carry on this legacy. So that is what we need to understand. Okay. And the last thing is other merely sees growth until spring. And this is where I'll talk about how it relates to like specific months in our lives. So there are some times where you need to take a break. I've been saying take a break a lot. You have to retreat, you have to pull back, because you need to build yourself, you need to grow more. There's never an end to learning. I read a quote once that said, the moment you stop learning, you stop living. Learning isn't confined or isn't restricted to the confines of a classroom. You learn from people's experiences. You learn from, historical materials. You learn from school, of course, the educational system, which is very funny in this world. You learn from a myriad of things. You learn from everything. You learn every day. So opening your mind and conditioning your mind to the fact that you learn every day helps you to understand that when it comes to your winter season, that period where you have to take a step back, it's a period where you build, you grow, you learn, you relearn, and you unlearn certain things, so that when you come out, you are furnished for the task that is ahead. Okay. So yeah, I will just run through some things, explain it, and we'll just call it an episode. It says, what the plenty of summer hides, the nakedness of winter reveals. And this has to do with infrastructure. So your spring summer is a period where you build infrastructure. Okay, because if you are not equipped enough, when you become dormant, let's say when you take a step back, most of the things you've not been able to build will be revealed to the world. So knowing how to condition yourself to seasons makes you to, build infrastructure throughout all seasons. In fact, throughout all seasons, that would last you a lifetime. Fullness often distracts from foundation. So many a times we are so caught up by the resplendence of summer, the lush flowers, heightened activity, the applause, the accolades, that we forget to do a reality check. Sometimes foundations are shaky, but we won't understand that we've not built a solid foundation, we've not built common ground, a solid base for ourselves, and then we just plunge headfirst into the terrible waters of social media and influence and the spotlight, and then right there and then the weaknesses and the frailty of our foundation is exposed. So that the thing you need to understand is that during winter, life does not sleep. It only retracts its advertisements, and ads has to do with it's quite explanatory. So yeah, I said winter was my favorite season because I know that there is so much to learn from winter as much as there is to learn from other seasons. A lot of people are really focused on the cold, the decreasing temperatures, the freezing climate, that they forget that as much as winter might be harsh when it comes to temperature rates and everything, winter is also the period where you all are cozied up with your duvets, your blankets, your hoodies and everything. It's a period of comfort also. Although being too comfortable is poisonous to purpose, destiny and everything, well, winter is a period where you soak in yourself so that you can become better, not just for you but for other people. And we're living in a world that is read by self-love. This self-love, it's good to take care of yourself. It's good to that's why I talked about winter. It's good to take a step back, to take 2 steps forward. But you need to understand that purpose and destiny is bigger than you. It's not what you most times, it's not what you bargain for, but it is what you are meant to do. Okay, so yeah, that's basically it. That's basically it. And I want to thank you for sticking with us throughout this series of seasons. God knows I don't think I know what I'm going to do in the month of May, but yeah, I would ride with the wave of creativity, and that's not it. I'll ride with the wave of inspiration. Inspiration comes, the flow of inspiration, as much as it comes and as hard as it comes, I'll ride with it. Just stick with us for content, stick with us for podcast. We air every Thursday, except for technical difficulties, then we'll have to post it some other time. Yeah, so yeah, thank you for sticking with us. Be sure to leave a comment, but this is not YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, to follow on Spotify, to leave us a review, a like, share with your friends if you think this is going to be beneficial to them, and yeah, help us grow as we spread this message. I love you all. I will see you in the next episode. Flip that switch and illuminate. God bless you.